Shalom, Grand Rising, OCO. Welcome to the video. Welcome to the channel. I am your brother Danyala, aka the Copper Collab Original. And before I get started, I want to give all honor, praises, and glory to the God of Israel. I also want to give recognition to the Holy Spirit, recognition to Yahweh Shai. Many salutes, much love, much ahab to you, brothers and sisters who are keeping the will of our God to the best of your abilities. So with that being said, welcome to the video. I do want to apologize for, the sounds and whatnot. I am at a customer right now. I am being live loaded. So you're going to hear, trucks. You're going to hear forklifts. You're going to hear things being jostled around. You'll probably even see me get jostled around once they start on me. But yeah, welcome to the video. I do have a pretty insightful video today for you guys, essentially explaining why so-called African Americans, so-called American Negroes are not accepted into Native American tribes, and why it's so hard for us to join these tribes, and honestly why I think that we should not join these tribes, right? So anyways, I got a book that I want to get into and read a paragraph or a page from this book and show you guys why these things are happening. Okay, so we're in this book. It is called The Religion in Which All Men Agree. Now we're going to scroll down here to this part of the book. It's chapter 7, and it's called Freemasonry and Native Americans. And again, sorry for the sounds. I am at a customer being live loaded right now, so forgive me for the sound. You're going to hear trucks and stuff like that. So anyways, starting right here on the top of the paragraph, it says, the story of Freemasonry and Native Americans begin in 1776 when a Mohawk leader, Joseph Brant, joined an English Masonic lodge. Okay, so I want you to take note. It says a Mohawk leader. Now, I don't believe that all these so-called American Indian leaders that we hear about in the past are actually American Indian. And I have my reasonings for that. Sure, some of them could be sellouts, but I believe that some of them were installed. They were really Europeans who were installed into these tribes as being leaders, because it didn't say he was a chief. It just said that he was a leader. And a lot of time when you read in the past, they would send Europeans, to do trade with our people, and then they would become a type of leader in our community. They would become a person of reverence or respect in our community, right? And oftentimes, they would be adopted into the tribe, right? But that doesn't mean that they are American Indian or even legitimately belonging to that tribe, right? So anyways, I'm going to start from the top again. It says the story of Freemasonry and Native Americans began in 1776 when the Mohawk leader Joseph Brant joined an English Masonic lodge. As an Indian leader and loyalist ally, Brant traveled several times to England, where he discussed the role of the Iroquois in the Revolutionary War. While in London, he was entertained by the Prince of Wales, had his portrait painted, and joined a Masonic lodge. Now, I would like to see that portrait, because if he was a real Niji, I'm willing to bet that it was a Negro. We know what he would really look like, right? If he was a real American Indian, he would look just like your average African American, just in American Indian regalia, right? We see how they did Pocahontas, right? How they whitened her up, the whitewash portraits, right? Continuing on, it says, in his lifetime, the Mohawk chief learned English, gained a Western education, joined the, I think that's Anglican, I cannot pronounce that word. but Anglican Church, and translated the Bible into his native language. We know that a lot of the books in the Bible they actually got from us, okay? And then King James and even the Catholic Church made their renditions of our Bible, translated from our languages, okay? We know that if anybody who watches my videos, Kareemio's videos, UB's videos, and several other brothers and sisters videos know that America is the true old world, and all those biblical kingdoms that you read about in the Bible were actually over here inside of the Americas, right? So we know it was in reverse. They took artifacts. I mean, right here in my home state of Ohio, we have the Ohio Holy Stones that was taken out of Newark, Ohio. And actually, I got to upload the video. I have to upload the video. Me and my family, we went there probably about 2 weeks ago. We went to Newark, Ohio, went to the mounds. Very beautiful place. It was bittersweet because it was beautiful to see the mounds of the ancestors. But it was bitter at the same time, realizing that these colonizers came over here and destroyed our people and destroyed a lot of what we had here. The part of the mounds that are still there today are actually part of the mounds. The rest of the mounds are actually destroyed, and built over top of. So yeah, it was kind of bittersweet. But the Newark Holy Stones, which had the commandments in there, had Moses carved into this little stone box, and it had Paleo Hebrew written in it. We see all the Paleo Hebrew, we see all the Hebrew all over the country. We see all the Hebrew artifacts, Assyrian, Babylonian artifacts, even your Greco-Roman artifacts all over the Americas, right? So we know that the America is a true old world, and when they came over here to the Americas, that's when they got our history, our books that are in the Bible. Okay, so where did I leave off at? So I'm just gonna start where it says, at the same time, he was a member of the Iroquois Grand Council and a leader of the Indians who fought alongside the British against the Revolution. Following the war, the British provided him with a pension and a land grant along the Grand River in Upper Canada. Now, isn't that weird? You're giving an Indian his land back, saying, okay, well, you know what, we're invaders. We're coming over here. We're taking your land, but, we're going to give you a little piece of your land back. We're going to give you a little bit of piece of this land over here that we took from these other Indians, right? It's weird. Y'all come over here, snatching people's lands, and then y'all say, okay, here, we're going to give you this land that we stole that ultimately already belonged to your people. It's weird. But continuing, it says, where he settled in a Mohawk village and joined the local lodge, okay? Talking about Freemason Lodge. Meditating between Indian and white worlds, Brant and the native Masons who followed him worked to advance the interests of their people. In the 19th century, as the American population moved westwards, pay attention to this, into lands that the federal authorities had assigned to Indians, more Native Americans joined Masonic lodges. The majority of the Native American leaders in these territories were Freemasons. The Cherokee leader John Ross, who was a $5 Indian, who was an infiltrator, who looked like he stepped straight off a boat from England, Norway, anywhere over there in those European Caucasian countries, right? And his Princeton-educated nephew, William, contributed to the 1849 founding of their tribe's first lodge. The Cherokee publishers and politicians Elias Bondua, that's a French name, I can't pronounce that, The Cherokee Confederate General Stan Waddy and Choctaw leader Peter Pinchlet were all lodge. I'm sure it says leaders, right? Now I want y'all to take a peep at that right there where it says Confederate General, right? It says the Cherokee Confederate General, right? You know, the brother Dane, he be dropping some gems, man. I know he's not the only one. He's not the only brother who drops the jewels when it comes to the Confederate Army and how, you know, you can go back in time and you can see that the Confederate Army had a lot of so-called Negroes in there. The reason why is because a lot of the so-called Negroes were actually American Indians, and they were a part of the Confederate Army. They were the ones who actually started the Confederate Army. The Confederate Army were actually a bunch of indigenous tribes who formed a confederacy, which was known as the Confederate Army. This is why you had the Iroquois Confederacy, the Powhatan Confederacy, the Cherokee Confederacy. You had all these Native American confederacies. We were the ones who started the Confederate Army. And when you really look into it, the Confederate, not the Revolutionary War, the Civil War was fought for, reasons that they're not telling you in school, right? And it was Indians versus the Union, and you could really dig into that information, and you can, once we do your research and digging around, you'll find out that, a lot of stuff that we've been talking about the Civil War is not true, right? So I just wanted to point that out right there, because that's a little nugget right there within the information I'm trying to bring out. Right there again, it says the Cherokee Confederate General. You're like, what? A Confederate Cherokee General? What the hell is this? Yeah, shout out to Dane Calloway. Anyways, so the main purpose of me reading this is showing you that during the 19th century, which is your 1800s, a majority of Native American leaders were Freemasons. Okay? I'm gonna read it again to you guys, okay? It says right here, you see that? Right here, it says the majority. Let me bring it to the center screen, but it says the majority, okay? The majority of the Native American leaders in Indian Territory were Freemasons, right? Yeah, so as you guys seen from that article, this is why it's so hard for us to join these tribes, right? This is why it's damn near impossible for us to join these tribes. They make it very hard, right? They say, okay, well, sure, you can prove your ancestry. You can prove that, you're related to this ancestor who was a part of that said tribe, right? But then they will hit you with, oh, well, you don't have enough blood. They have the whole blood quantum BS, saying, oh yeah, you don't have enough blood, Native American blood, to become a part of this tribe. Yeah, yes, we will accept the fact that your ancestor was a tribal member, but we won't accept you into the tribe. We won't give you a card. You're not going to gain any benefits of being in this tribe because you don't have enough blood. And mind you, the people who are saying these things look nothing like the ancestors, which tells me, people say, you can't judge a person, based on their phenotype, but I say that's bullshit. I don't like to judge people characters off of their phenotype, right? I don't like to, I don't let their phenotype be the end all and be all to even their ancestry, right? But the phenotype can tell you quite a bit, right? The person's physical look can tell you quite a bit, and it can even tell you that person's story, right? Um, you can just look at me and tell that I don't have any recent Caucasian ancestry in me, right? Okay, so it's the same thing with these people in these tribes who are telling us that, hey, you don't have enough Native American in you. You don't have enough American Indian in you, right? These people are lily white. These people look like they stepped off a boat from Sweden, right? These people who run these tribes, who are running around in these tribes, are literally people with blonde hair, blue eyes, lily white skin, right? Or more like a pinkish color, but I'm just saying lily white because, people say that, right? Just to say that they're the whitest of the white people. So yeah, you literally have white people in these tribes telling you that you're not Native American enough. You're African and all this stuff, which we know are lies, but it's like, wait a minute. How the hell did you guys get in this tribe? You look like you stepped off a boat from Europe and you're able to get in this tribe when you look nothing like the ancestors. When the ancestors looked like me, had the same hair texture, same skin tone, same lips, same nose. You look nothing like those ancestors. Yet you're able to join these tribes. You look like you came off the boat from Asia. You look like you came off the boat from Europe. Yet you guys are telling me that I don't belong in this tribe, even though I can prove my ancestry because I don't have enough Native American in my blood. Well, what about you guys? Because looking at you guys, you over here, and this is not to disparage anybody of any other race, of Asian descent, Native American, white, whatever have you. I'm not racist. I don't hate people based on their physical look. I hate people based off of their character. If you're evil, I hate you. You know what I'm saying? If you're good, I have nothing but love for you. But this is for those racist people out there who do this stuff, But most of the people who are in these tribes are either they're Caucasian phenotype, they have an Asian phenotype, or they're a mulatto. They're a mix of some type, right? But we know that the ancestors look just like me, look just like your average American Negro, right? How do we know this? We know this through documentation. And what I mean by that are the early Europeans who were colonizers and explorers who came over here and documented what the indigenous people of the Americas look like. They said they look like me. They described them as being black, ruddy, tawny, like an African, in the sense of like as an Ethiopian, calling them black, calling them all types of things, describing their noses as being very broad, very wide, big lips, short curly hair, all this type of stuff, wearing locks, wearing braids, all these descriptions of Negroid type people, right? This is the description that the early Europeans were giving of the so-called American Indian, okay? But of course, a lot of that changed in time. Why? Because they started reclassifying us. And then some of us started to breed with them, and it changed the looks, right? But, going back to what I was saying is that, the American Indians were documented looking like Negroes. Not only that, we have paintings showing what the American Indians looked like back in the early times, back in the 1600s, 1500s. We even see how the American Indians depicted themselves. Look at the Bonaparte the Bonampak murals. I think it's in Guatemala. Look at those murals of how the Mayans depicted themselves. They depicted themselves as Negroes. Dark brown skinned people wearing braids, right? That's how they depicted themselves. If you look at a lot of their instruments that they use for their hair, like their combs and stuff, they were picks. This is what a lot of, right here actually, this is what a lot of Native American combs look like. Just like this. Do you ever see white people with these? No. Do you ever see Asian people with these? No. Do you ever see your so-called Native American people with these? No. Unless they are of an admixture and they have so-called African American ancestry, right? That's the only way you see them with these things. But if you look at Native American combs, a lot of them look like this. Why? Because this is how you manage long, thick, negroid type hair, right? So yeah, this is how we know what the American Indians look like of old. I'm not talking about your modern day Native Americans, right? So, these same people who are in these tribes don't look like their ancestors, yet they're telling you you can't join these tribes. And the reason why I brought out the book is to show you why. The reason why you cannot join these tribes are because these tribes essentially are Freemason lodges. And the Freemasons, they pride themselves on secrecy. This is why they won't tell you who you are. This is why when you find out who you are and you own who you are, they come out and they're upset at you because they don't want you to know that truth. Why? Because they stole that history from you. They took your history from you. These same people who are in these tribes today descend from the very same people who took your history and hid it from you, right? These are these very same people. And give me 1 second. 1 second, guys. Sorry, my hands very ashy. I got those working man hands. I am a working man, but my hands are very ashy. But yeah, I naturally have dry skin. But yeah, it is their job to hide this information from you. Their ancestors were the same ones who took your history and hid it from you. So they continue on the tradition that I can't even speak right now. They're continuing the tradition, of hiding your history from you and keeping it from you. This is why they kicked you. These very same people who are in the tribes today, their ancestors were the ones who kicked your ancestors out of those tribes. You can read about it. Kareemio, he did a good video, I think a series of videos, probably about 3 years ago. He did a good video showing how a lot of these tribal members were being kicked out. I'm talking about in the 1800s, early 1900s, they were being kicked out of these tribes because of whatever reason. They was coming up with stupid reasons to kick these people out of the tribes, and even telling them like, hey, you're not Native American. I mean, you're not American Indian, right? We all know about the paper genocide and how they were telling a lot of our ancestors, yeah, you don't belong to this tribe. This tribe is now extinct. You're not American Indian. You are white. You are mulatto, you are black, right? Or Negro, right? This is what they were telling our ancestors. They were reclassifying them. Sorry, I don't know why I can't speak right now. I'm a little congested though, I ain't gonna lie. That always hinders my speech. But yeah, they were reclassifying our ancestors. And at the same time, they were moving their people in position to become the American Indian so that their people can reap the benefits that our people were supposed to get, right? It's kind of the same thing that they're doing right now with reparations, how they're trying to move other groups into their reparation category. You know, they're trying to move Hispanics, and this is no shade against Hispanics or Africans, but they're trying to move Hispanics and Africans into the area for reparations. It's the same thing they did in the past, because after they had taken our lands, you know, east of the Mississippi, they were kicking us out west of the Mississippi, and there were lands out there that they said that we could have, right? Even though they didn't even own the damn land out there. You know, they were pretty unaware of what mostly lied out west. They were like, you know what, there's this land out there. We know there's land out there. You guys, y'all can have that land. We promise y'all can have that land. Here's a treaty. Y'all can have that land out there. And when they were doing that, you know, especially when they started hearing about the gold out there, they started to allow European settlers to claim that they were American Indian, right? And sorry about that truck right here. Let me roll up my window real quick. I'm gonna roll it back down, but well, you know what? He's actually about to park this trailer and then he's gonna move on. But yeah, so back to what I was saying. You know, we all know about paper genocide, how they reclassified us. But then at the same time, when they were performing paper genocide, even before paper genocide, they were reclassifying white people as American Indians. We all know about the $5 Indians and how, you know, so-called whites were able to just pay $5 and they would become Indians. And what they would do is that they would become a part of these tribes while kicking out the legitimate members. They would become a part of the tribes, kick out the legitimate members, and they would marry. A lot of the men, the white men, would marry indigenous women, have children with these women, and then their children would keep procreating with each other, and they would procreate with other, you know, mixed families that had white fathers, indigenous mothers, and then they will become the new face of these tribes. And, you know, the brothers, shout out to several brothers out there, but shout out to the research guy talking about Bloqueamiento, right? Or Bloqueamiento. I can't even pronounce it right. I have to look at it. But essentially them pushing the dark indigenous people out the way and then lifting up the mixed class and even white people and saying, hey, these are the true indigenous people. They do that all over the world. You know what I'm saying? They do it all over the world, even to this day. You know, in all the continents and countries and places where there are, you know, dark brown people, they'll move them out the way and lift up the light skinned people, saying these are the true indigenous people. So they were doing that here. You know, the white men were marrying indigenous women. They made mulatto children, and some of them kept breeding white and some of them kept breeding mulatto. And that's why in a lot of tribes, especially in the East, you see a bunch of mulatto people running around saying that they're this and that, you know. And yeah, the mulatto people do have some legitimate claim, but they're not, you know, 100% Indian like they will try to have you believe. And I'm talking about genetically, right? Because they have European ancestry. So-called African Americans are probably more genetically closer to their ancestors than they are, right? But of course, we got reclassified. They got to keep the identity. And a lot of the white people, sometimes what they would do too, there's even stories out there, historical stories that you can actually pull up of white men who were $5 Indians. They married into the tribe. They purchased to become an Indian, and then they would marry a sister, an indigenous sister in that tribe, and then they would kill her and inherited the land. There's a story, I can't remember the name of the women who were killed, but this happened. And I'm sure it didn't just happen one time. And then they bring in their white wives and say, yeah, man, I'm Cherokee and all this stuff. And then they pass that down generation. This is why in the late 1800s, early 1900s, you will see black and white photos of a Caucasian person dressed in Native American regalia. This is why you see those photos. because you have $5 Indians who are pretending to be us. And I'm gonna go back to John Ross. John Ross, anybody who has ever studied Cherokee history, right? Y'all probably come across a Cherokee chief named John Ross. And when you take one look at him, you could tell that man is Caucasian. You can look at him and you could tell that he's not an Indian. Now, of course, you're gonna have people who are part of the Cherokee tribe say, "Yeah, he's Indian. His mom was Indian. His dad was European." I don't buy it at all, because if his mother was indigenous, his mother was more than likely dark skinned, right? And John Ross' dad if he was even a white European, he still wouldn't come out looking like a man who stepped off the boat from Norway or England. You know what I'm saying? Or Sweden or Germany, right? That man looks straight up like a German. And you're trying to tell me that he was a Cherokee chief? Like I said before, you had these $5 Indians. You even had traders who would either marry into the tribe. You had white European traders who would either marry into the tribe, or they would become honorary tribal members. They wouldn't even have to marry into the tribe. They would bring us ammunition, rifles, things like that, right? And you know how us indigenous people are. We're like, yeah, man, hey, that's my dog, that's my brother. We like to accept anybody who does right by us, even for a short time. We be like, oh yeah, that's my brother, man, that's my dog, that's my cat. You know what I'm saying? They call them every animal in the book, right? Other than a snake, because that's really what they were. They were snakes, man. They were whole damn snakes, man. And John Ross, I think, was either a $5 Indian, or he descended from one of those snakes that made their way into our tribes, right? Because when you look at the history of John Ross, that nigga, that dude was a damn devil, man. Because this was during the mid 1800s, where he literally took our people from areas like Georgia, North Carolina, the Carolinas, right? Georgia, the Carolinas, and he took them west. And just to show you how devilish these people were, as soon as they took our people west, guess what they found up under the earth? Gold. This is exactly why they wanted to get us up out of here. This is exactly why they wanted us to move west, was to get the gold that was in our lands. And of course, they inherited our structures that were over there. Everybody know about the Vanderbilt Castle. That belonged to us. Our ancestors built that. Look at the World's Fairs. When they started to move westward, they started to find the structures over there too. And then of course they said that they built them. Our ancestors built them. You guys need to read a book called The Longest... Damn, what is the book called? I don't know. I have the book on my channel. It's been a while since I've read it. But it's with... What's his name? His name was John something. I can't remember the name. But you can find the story on Google. It's an actual real life account of a European settler or explorer. Well, actually, he was just a sailor, and he happened to get stranded in the Americas, in the Gulf of Mexico. And he traveled from the Gulf of Mexico. Let me close this door, man. This window. This dude he did all that for no reason. God damn, Esau be doing too much, man. But anyways, this guy got stranded in the Gulf of Mexico and made his way all the way up to Canada. And on his journey, he talks about the advanced civilizations that he encountered here in the Americas. He made it all the way up to Nova Scotia, I believe. But one of the cities that he went through was called Norumbega, right? and it was an advanced city with our ancestors. So yeah, all these structures and stuff here, like all the Greco-Roman structures that you find all over the country, the Gothic structures that you find all over the country, the a lot of these ancient Hebraic structures, all this stuff you find all over the countries that they say that they built. No, these were our structures that were already here. They were our structures, right? Our ancestors lived in them. Even in Cherokee, you have stories of how a lot of those plantation houses with the pillars in the front, that those were built by us and our ancestors, right? But you're not going to learn that in regular history class, right? But anyways, they came, pushed us up out of our lands, took our structures, took our gold. And then when they pushed us out west, some of our people out west, because not all of us went out west, majority of us actually stayed here and changed. As I read to you, a lot of us were in that same predicament, choosing between the so-called white man's world and our Indian world. And a lot of us were being killed. A lot of us were being killed in war. A lot of us were being lynched for keeping our identities. And a lot of us were shipped out to different countries, right? So we were faced with all that. And a lot of us decided to, hey, let's just assimilate and become a part of this America, this newly emerging America, right? But some of our people who left, they went out to other lands out west, the lands that they said that they kept reserved for us, ultimately for them to come and take also when they found out that there was more gold out west, right? But yeah, man, John Ross had a lot to do with that, moving our people out west. He was a damn devil. He was a $5 Indian. And his descendants and people like him are still in these tribes today, telling you you're not Indian enough, telling you that you can't join their tribes. So this is why I firmly believe that none of us should be joining their tribes at all. Do not join these tribes. They're Freemason organizations. This is why they get benefits from the government. This is why they keep your history secret to you. This is why whenever you present your history and you start teaching your people our history, our true American Indian history, they come out and they start crying and complaining and trying to throw in hijacks and trying to mislead our people. And they say, oh, you guys are nothing but self-hating Africans. And honestly, all that bullshit, I really don't pay much mind. It don't bother me, really, because when you know who you are, no one can tell you who you aren't. And they can't tell you who you are when you know who you are. This is why genealogy is so important. Fuck spitting in a damn tube so they can collect your DNA and make a disease specifically for your gene pool, right? Fuck doing that to try to find out nothing, right? Because we know it's all fun and games, right? Do your genealogy, because when you find out who you are, they can't beat you over the head with that bullshit slave narrative that you came over on ships from Africa. They can't teach you that anymore. It just goes in one ear and out the other, right? And you can teach your children this history, the true history. But yeah, they want to call you pretendians and all this stuff. It honestly don't matter, because I could prove my ancestry. Many others can prove their ancestry, and we can also prove it through history. Even if you don't even do your genealogy, you can prove that so-called American Negroes have been here for thousands of years simply by just digging up history. You know what I'm saying? They can't argue against that. They can't argue against it. That's why they resort to name calling and childish stuff like that. But see, that's what they do. They're paid to do that. That's why they're taken care of by the government. This is why they become federally recognized. A lot of your tribes that are federally, I'm going to say all of your tribes that are federally recognized, they are Freemasonic organizations. All your tribes out here who are fighting to become federally recognized, don't do it, because we know that there's stipulations to it. Don't do it. Just know who you are, know who your ancestors are, and be happy with that. You know what I'm saying? And teach your children, teach your grandchildren, teach your descendants. But you're more than likely not going to become federally recognized. All these tribes out here who are trying to and who are having a hard time doing it. These legitimate tribes out here, they probably can only get as far as being, recognized by the state. But federally recognized, you're not going to get that. Why? Because those tribes are ran by Freemasons and they have a deal with the government, which is why they're taken care of, which is why they get casinos and all this stuff, right? This is why you got to watch out from people. You got to watch out from those people out here who are a part of these tribes who come out and say, oh yeah, you Negroes are just self-hating Africans and blah, blah, blah. Or they may have even started off with, agreeing with us and then changed their tune all of a sudden. What's his name? Jay Nightwolf? Like that brother. You know what I'm saying? At first, he was co-signing us, He was with, Farrakhan, Minister Farrakhan, and said essentially that damn near, you can go to any black person and touch them and you're touching an American Indian, right? That's what he was saying. But now he somewhat changed his tune. And you gotta ask yourself, well, why did he do that? It's probably because one of his big Freemason brothers tapped him on the shoulder, was like, don't do that. No, don't tell them the truth. Because as soon as they find out the truth, all of them find out the truth and they accept that truth and they know it's truth, our cover's blown. We failed our job. We get no more benefits because they're going to take back their heritage and we lose all those benefits of being Native Americans or American Indians, right? So no, we don't need to join these organizations. Not at all. Not at all, guys. Just teach your children who we are. I know some people want to make their own bands and stuff like that. And I say, if anything, do that. Make your own band, but don't join these tribes that are federally recognized, because they're nothing more than Freemason fronts, man. And they're just gonna keep the truth from you. This is why, a lot of people, when they join those tribes, they get accepted into those tribes, they get quiet, or they start singing, a different song, right? Yeah. And I think even some of these people who aren't federally recognized, you will see some of them talking crazy too, because they want to be accepted. They want to be accepted not only by these Freemasons, but they also want to be accepted by, just people who identify as Native American, right? Like, you have the brother Two Hawks, right? And then you have the other brother Turtle Gang. They're affiliated with each other. I don't know if they're relatives, but I see them talking to each other quite often. And I keep my antenna up on brothers like that, because it's like, well, you started off talking one way, but now you're making it seem like you guys are special. Like, y'all seem like y'all are separatists, right? Like, hey, we are American Indians. You niggas over there, like, no, this is them. They're like, we're Native Americans. You niggas over there that look just like us. Y'all niggas African. Y'all African. And then I think I even saw one video with Two Hawks saying that he was part African and part Native American or something like that, explaining why he looks the way he does, why he doesn't look like a stereotypical Native American. I'm just like, Negro, you are goofy, man. The reason why you look the way you are is because you probably got some European in there, some Caucasian in there, but the Negro look of you is because of your American Indian ancestors. That's why you look like a Negro. That's why you look like a light-skinned Negro, because of your American Indian ancestors. But see, a lot of these brothers, they want to try to fit in with the Mongoloid phenotype Native Americans. That's who they want to fit in with. This is why they have those powwows. Yes, I know that powwows started out east. They started here with our people, but then it transformed over the decades, right? But all that sitting around in a circle, beating on the drum, all that crap, that was with the Mongolian types, right? The Mongolian natives. That didn't start with our people at all. Sorry. Block that real quick. But yeah, that didn't come from our people. That came from them. They want to be accepted by those people out west. That's why they talk the way they do. But also, you gotta remember at the same time, a lot of them are Freemasons. But yeah, anyways, guys, I'm not going to talk for too much longer. I just wanted to drop that gem on you guys and show you guys that this is why they're not accepting so-called Negroes into these tribes. This is why it's going to be very hard for you to get into these tribes. This is why you have a bunch of white people, so-called white people, running around these tribes saying that they're Indian. Because they're descendants of Freemason $5 Indians. That's who they are. They're descendant of $5 Indians who are Freemasons, who are going to keep the truth from you. They get benefits for doing that. Anyways, guys, that's all I have to say. I will talk to you later. Peace out, shalom, and may the God of Israel bless all of you who do his will. Shalom.